Yo, Elliott, I've been with my girlfriend for 5 years. We live together for 2. I've decided no sex and that I should kick her out until or if we get married. She's finishing up school, no real job. She would have to move back with her parents. She doesn't want to. I've kicked her out multiple times over the last 2 years so I can focus on business. She said she put her heart and soul into our current apartment, and if that she's going to get kicked out, we're done. It doesn't help that I work 7 days a week, come home at 9 p.m., bed at 10, and don't have time for recreation. Lately, I've had more time, but it doesn't change that we're living in sin. Would it be weird if I let her stay in the apartment and move into my office so I can be in God's grace? Does it count as not living together if I'm still paying for the apartment? I really don't mind moving into the office. I think it would be a blast. I have a shower, gym, couch, sleep, etc. Cool. Well, it almost sounds like you came in with the question and then you solved your own problem. That's not a bad option. And so just a few things that struck me as I was reading your question. Dude, it's kind of tough when you take the red pill and you wake up and the people around you don't know what the hell you're doing. And so you've been living with this girl. You've been with her for 5 years. This is not a casual relationship. And you've been living together, albeit in sin. But listen, you were both bought in on this idea for 2 years, right? You can't just show up one day and say, that's it. I'm kicking you out, right? And I totally understand her reaction to that, which is we're done. If you're kicking me out, we're done. Yeah, she's right. There's a lot invested for her in the apartment, but also in the relationship, both of you too. And so, I think it's a little bit of an autistic move to just cut her off like that without giving her some insight about what the hell's going on. But I understand your motives are pure. I see what you're doing. And so it seemed like it was a problem, right? And we don't have to go into the logistics of what you want and where you want to go. But you then go on and say that you have options. You don't necessarily have to kick her out. It sounds like you have an office that you would actually like living in. It sounds like you would enjoy that. And you said, would it be weird if I let her stay in the apartment and I moved into my office so I can be in God's grace? I don't think that would be weird. Of course, I'm just listening to what you're saying and I'm giving you my opinion. If you're really dedicated to walking in God's grace and that has to do with being in a state of, not in a state of mortal sin, doing sinful things. So you're in the right mindset in terms of we shouldn't be living together. But you gotta be sort of gingerly. How could I use what kind of word? You gotta be thoughtful about the process. And so I wonder if you're even proposing that to her as well. Where is she with you on this faith journey, right? Because a lot of times it's kind of crazy for somebody who's been dating someone for 5 years. I don't know if she's Christian or not, or what the deal is in terms of the conversations that y'all may have had with one another. And I see that you're here, Pete, so it'd be good to chat with you about that. But if you're doing this because you're offering her a better way of life by explaining to her that it is my job to help you get to heaven. That's what a married couple does. The main vocation of a married spouse is to help their spouse get to heaven. And so you're there to keep her not only free from a state of sin, right? So you don't want her sinning. So you're doing this out of her charity. You're doing it for the good of her, right? It's not like, hey, I don't want to have sex with you anymore so I can find myself. I'm kicking you out. You brought God's grace into it. So I'm going with you there. And so what that would look like, again, is charity. But also, too, it's crazy because this cohabitation thing kind of sets you up as if you are married when you're not. And so you're behaving as married people, and so the minds and the hearts and the bodies are united outside of the grace of God. And it doesn't mean that God wouldn't give you graces. My wife and I were living in sin for most of our relationship in different ways. For some people, they're so far removed from God's grace that they need to do some serious repenting, turning around, and cleaning up their life. That may not be the case for you, but the point is that you want to be walking in that integrity, which is more than anything, right? To be walking in God's grace is to be walking in integrity, you know, having your thoughts, your words, and your deeds lined up. So I get you. So given that, you know, in my opinion, you're already basically married, but you got to take it to the next level at some point. Otherwise you're wasting this girl's time too. And you're, you know, both of y'all investment. So it's not just being outside of a state of grace. It's a waste. It's a waste of time and energy and resources for both of you. It's like, what the fuck are we doing? Are we just entertaining each other with each other's bodies, or where are we going with this, right? You don't put money into a business. You know, I know you're a hustler, you're an entrepreneur. You don't put money into something and then you don't expect a return on investment, right? You're going into a venture. When you're courting a woman, when you're dating a woman, when you're going down the road that you are with a woman after 5 years, it's like, well, there's an ultimate end. Right? And that is to live the vocation of marriage. And so a part of what you're proposing to her here is like, let's clean up our act a little bit so that we can get in God's grace, ultimately so that we can actually have a real marriage. But there's a lot of karma there already. There's a lot of entanglement. And so my opinion is that based on that entanglement, right, where she's in flesh, she's your body, she's your wife. For you to let her stay at the apartment is fine, which is great. I think it's meritorious. I don't know. I don't know your relationship with her. I don't know her very well, but you know, if you trust her in that apartment and you guys can, trust each other in that way, but also maintain boundaries. You say you're talking about, going celibate for a while, get some clarity on the relationship, and you're living in the apartment. I would also, I think it's a good idea. I would also put a deadline, a timeline, or come together, at a particular benchmark in time with the intention of discussing what are we doing, where are we going, what's next for us, right? So it's great that you're here with us. I put you through these initiation processes that are, 30, 60, 90 days. You choose, you want to go to, fasting and prayer is a big part of this. So you're a part of, you're partaking in one of the austerities that are designed to give you space so that you can walk in God's grace, and so that things take off for you with the abstinence, which is cool, but also use the fasting and the prayer to your benefit for getting clarity and direction and declaration. I think a big part of prayer that we forget sometimes is declaration, like declaring what it is that is manifesting in your life, right? Which would be a happy, healthy marriage with this woman that God has put you with.
Porn. 68% of church-going men watch it secretly, hiding this vice from their wife. For other men, it's alcohol or drug use. Are you willing to risk your marriage, family, and finances for sinful pleasures and vice? Or are you ready to fight back? If you're a married Christian businessman or entrepreneur caught in the clutches of drinking, drugs, or jerking off, realize that every moment spent in these vices is literally destroying your life. Is this the man God called you to be? To live like this? If you're ready to go to war against vice and take your life back, here's my advice. Click the link in this video or visit waronvice.com to book a call with me to see if we're a good fit for going into battle together. I'll see you on the inside.